Hello, this is Sonny Bostock from Politicomment, and today I'm going to be going over the first of my breakdowns on UK political parties, and I will be starting with perhaps the most divisive party of all, Reform UK. I've decided to make this video now because of what has been going on recently with the leader of Reform UK and potentially inciting riots. I've been watching the news and I've been keeping up to date with what's going on, and I've been very unhappy with it, and I would not like to see that man get into a position of power. So today I'm going to be breaking down for you why Reform UK are the most dangerous political party in the United Kingdom. What do I mean by dangerous? Well, I'm going to break this down into 4 areas where, if they get into government, all the evidence points towards the fact that they will damage these areas. I'm going to go over the economy, public services, climate, and workers' rights. Let's start off with how they will damage the economy. Reform UK, in their manifesto, have proposed tax cuts that would cost around £90 billion, but at the same time also want to increase spending by £50 billion. So they're going to lose £90 billion through cutting taxation, but suddenly get money to spend £50 billion. And they justify this by claiming they would make £150 billion by reducing spending elsewhere in government, such as worker benefits. Now, the IFS predicts that cutting wasteful spending, which is what Reform UK have claimed worker benefits and other things are. They've claimed it as wasteful spending. The IFS predicts this wouldn't even save £50 billion, let alone £150 billion. And the IFS is the UK's leading independent economic research institute. They analyse things such as taxation, public spending and social policy. So not only are their economic policies mathematically incoherent, but they're also going to cause huge economic disparity. They have said they will increase tax-free allowance from £12,570 per year to £20,000 per year. So currently, if you earn anything below £12,570 per year, you don't pay tax. They say they will increase that to £20,000 for what they claim is for poor people. So the poorest 20% of the UK would gain an extra £380 of disposable income from this. That's magnificent, until you see that the richest 20% would gain £2,400 from this. So their increasing of tax-free allowance isn't benefiting poorer people of society anywhere near as much as it's benefiting the richest, because they need more money. They also say they will increase the higher income tax threshold from £50,270 to £70,000. What this means is the highest threshold of tax that you can be paid in the UK. Currently, if you earn anything over £50,270, you pay it, they'll increase that threshold to £70,000. So this will give the poorest 20% an extra £17 in disposable income, and it would give the richest 20% £2,700 in disposable income. The top 10% of households are expected to gain £5,980 per year, and the bottom 10% are only estimated to gain £230 per year from Reform UK's tax policies. Does that look like a party who are working for the poor people? Or does that look like a party who are working for the rich people? Now let's move on to how they will damage the public service. Reform UK are currently pledging to cut 68,500 civil service jobs. Instantly, 68,500 people will just not have a job anymore, as if UK unemployment isn't bad enough. But since Brexit, our civil servants have become invaluable because they now do the jobs that the EU once did. We've got to do them because we're not in the EU anymore. Our civil servants have to do them. And civil servants are just people who work for either the government or in government institutes. Specifically, the ones they're talking about here are civil servants who work in office jobs. So that can be researchers or press correspondents, anything like that who work for the government in the office. Another public service that Nigel Farage will damage is the NHS. Farage has had a 13-year consistent history of supporting making the NHS insurance-based rather than free at point of delivery. They also claim that they can eliminate the NHS waiting list in 2 years, and they say that will only cost £17 billion. Not only has the IFS deemed this near impossible, but there has never been an NHS waiting list of 0, ever in their history. It's never happened. And Reform UK say they can do it in 2 years for only £17 billion. It is clear that they want to cut and strip the NHS. Farage's 13-year consistent history of wanting to do this supports this fact. The NHS, being free at the point of delivery, is a fundamental cornerstone of British identity and healthcare. The idea that anyone has access to equal healthcare, no matter how much money you make, without the fear of it putting you into crippling debt, is something that I think every working person in the UK should support. Let's move on to how they will damage the climate and the environment. Reform UK have vowed to scrap the United Kingdom's net zero policies. So net zero is where we reduce as much greenhouse gases as we are emitting, effectively making our total carbon output 0. They claim that they want to do this to save money for poorer households. Not only will the economic benefits of scrapping net zero be non-existent, but the damage that a Reform UK government would do to our fragile and dying environment that we rely on to live, it will be unforgivable. First, let's talk about how their climate policies will damage us economically. Historic efforts to increase people's disposable income by cutting environmental policies have failed. Previous attempts from earlier in this decade under the Tory government actually saw bills rise by £40 to £60. No one earned a penny from this. The Office for Budget Responsibility estimates that sticking with fossil fuels would actually cost us double in the next 25 years than scrapping them would. The New Economics Foundation estimates that scrapping net zero will also wipe £92 billion from the economy and destroy 60,000 jobs by 2030. Net zero, in fact, helps build the economy. It doesn't just not damage the economy, it helps to build it. Creating offshore wind farms alone is 10,000 new jobs per year. If we went further into nuclear or solar or hydro, that would create even more jobs. And solar wind farms alone is estimated to provide £25 billion to the economy between 2024 and 2035. The main point to take away from this is, even if for some reason you are a climate change denier, which is ludicrous, but let's imagine you are and you believe that we should scrap net zero just for its economic benefits, look at this. Net zero is not damaging the economy, it is helping it. And here's another reason we need to go further into net zero, because air pollution is currently costing the NHS £43 million per year in dealing with people who have serious asthma attacks because of air pollution, for example. Now, obviously, their policy of scrapping net zero will damage the environment. The climate crisis is real. That's not debatable. That's not a debatable fact. Some things are debatable, some things are facts. The climate crisis is a fact. The climate and the environment is dying, and only we have the power to stop it. Air pollution is killing 50,000 UK adults prematurely. And that's just in the UK. Worldwide, I think I read that it was 9 million adults. That's more than smoking. Air pollution is killing more people than smoking is globally. It'll affect everyday people because droughts, floods and extreme heat is making it increasingly difficult for farmers to farm on their land and produce food. The climate crisis could cause a serious decrease in the amount of food that the world has. People will be starving to death because parties like Reform UK don't believe in climate change. The world is dangerously close to being 1.5 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial average. Now, it doesn't sound like a lot, but scientists and environmentalists believe this is the point of no return. Once we pass 1.5 degrees Celsius permanently, there's no coming back. We've killed our climate and we've killed everyone living on this planet. The world is dying, and scrapping net zero policies is just bounding towards the death of everything we know. And now let's talk about one that should concern every working person in the UK. The 2025 Workers' Rights Act, passed by Labour, banned malicious employment practices. For example, fire and rehire, where you fire someone just before you are legally obliged to give them a pay raise and then hire them back so you can keep them at their minimum wage. It also bans 1 day sick pay, where if someone's off with, the flu, they can only be paid for 1 day of being sick. And for the rest of the time they're off, they're earning nothing. Let's assume someone's broken their leg and needs a month and a half to recover. Before the Workers' Rights Act, they would only be paid for 1 day of that, and for the rest of it, they weren't getting paid and couldn't live. Now that that's been banned, if you seriously injure yourself, you don't have to worry about being able to put food on the table. It also bans 0-hour contracts where companies would hire people without providing them with a fixed number of hours they would work per week. So a company could hire you and not give you a shift for weeks. I had a friend who was hired at a company. From December to May, they didn't get a single shift, but they were technically employed. Now the 2025 Workers' Rights Act has banned all of this. Guess which party voted against it at every possible step? Reform UK. Reform UK voted against banning fire and rehire. They voted against banning 1-day sick pay, and they voted against banning 0-hour contracts. Does that sound like they're for the working people? They've also said that they will repeal the 2010 Equality Act, which currently protects marginalised workers such as ethnic minorities or homosexuals. It protects them from being discriminated against from being hired to companies. They said they will scrap it. Does that sound like they're on the side of working people? They've also said that they will cut the minimum wage for younger people to incentivise youth employment. However, many economists believe this would be an ineffective strategy. A lot of economists believe there is actually a negligible correlation between minimum wage and unemployment. Saying that cutting minimum wage for young people will instantly decrease youth unemployment is completely a populist thing to say, and the second you analyse it for even a minute, it crumbles. And let's say that they did cut the minimum wage for younger people. It wouldn't have any effect on the unemployment rate. It would just mean younger people are not getting paid a livable wage. Does that sound like they are on the side of working people? Let's conclude this. Nigel Farage's Reform UK party do not have a coherent economic plan, and their current policies would undoubtedly wreck the economy. All economists know this. The IFS have directly said that their economic policies are not good and do not work mathematically. The damage they would do to public services and the civil service are derived from the fact they do not have a working policy for how to fix them. They have no idea how to fix the NHS, and they have no idea how to fix the civil service. And the solutions they have claimed will work will not. It will damage them. The climate crisis is currently at a breaking point, and we cannot afford to elect a party who will damage it even further. We have to do everything we can to protect our world. It's the only one we've got. And even if that doesn't convince you, their climate policies will damage the economy. And their concerning workers' rights history and their workers' rights policies should concern everyone watching this video. They're clearly not the party of the working people. They've never voted in favour of working people. At every step of the way, Reform UK have voted against the working people, the backbone of this country. Reform UK have voted against them. And that is why Reform UK are the most dangerous political party. Thank you for watching today's video. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Instagram and TikTok. Any support you can give to this video and my previous videos would be greatly appreciated. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.